Hello and welcome. I'm Kim Croker of Stampin' with Kim Arlene. I am from British Columbia on the west coast of Canada. And today I want to show you a card that has a new technique for me. It is a double embossed background. So I made this with Seaside Bay, and be nicer if you could see it, wouldn't it? It is a Z-fold card, or Z-fold if you're one of my friends from the States, and it opens up like this. I've done a similar card like this in the past, but I wanted to try out this background. I wanted something, because of the birds and the seabirds, I wanted to have sort of a water looking background. So this is embossed, first of all, with a dry embossing folder, 3D folder called from the Stripes and Splatters. A 2-pack of embossing folders. I use the splatters, and then I clear embossed with clear embossing powder and set it with a heat tool. I started out wanting to do another card with the white center paper that I did one of those a week ago, and I was really happy with it turned out, but I wasn't too excited with this. So I tried another one, and this time I tried with our fine shimmer paper. So it has a little bit of a shimmer to it, but it wasn't really the look that I wanted. So that's why I gave this one a try. And I'll show you how to make this in this video. If you like my videos, I hope that you will like them, and please subscribe, and you will be able to get some more ideas for cards and card making techniques. And don't forget to hit the notification, the bell, so that you are notified when I make cards. Basic white cardstock. This is 10.5 by 4 inches, and it's scored at 5 1/4 inches and 2 5/8. And we are going to take that and score it, and then burnish the folds and make it into a Z-fold card. Pretty easy so far. Next piece we need is a piece of Night of Navy cardstock. This one is 5 1/8 inches wide by 3 7/8 inches tall. And we are going to use the Stripes and Splatters embossing folder. This comes in a 2-pack. The other one is the Stripes, this is the Splatters, and this is one of our 3D embossing folders. So we're going to dry emboss the navy piece. This is going to be a little tight to see, but we'll do our best with this. Okay, so the reason I need the big one is I am going to need to emboss this in 2 separate steps. I'm going to emboss about to the center the first time. I'm going to make sure that I have my folded part of the embossing folder going in first into the machine. This is going just on the base plate, and then use my gray embossing plate, and I'm going to run that through. And then I need to move that over. Now this you will not see very much because the center part of it will be covered. So I'm just going to flip that around. Now you want to make sure that what you're doing is just turning the paper, rotating the paper. Don't turn it over, or you'll have half of it embossed and half of it debossed. And then I'm just going to open this up, line it up so that I'm sort of following the previous one. If anything, you want to overlap it just a touch, and then put it back on the plate, again going fold side in. The reason you want the fold side to go in on your embossing folders is that if they go through the other way, there's a chance that after lots of use that it may separate the embossing folder at the fold. So you want to do that with all of your embossing folders. All right, we'll put that down out of the way. And then that's what we have here. Now you can see there's a tiny bit of a seam right here, but that's going to be covered by our center piece. Now what I want to do with this now is I'm going to take my Versamark ink pad. This is a sticky ink pad, and I'm going to run my Versamark over the embossing here, and I'm going to get mostly the part that is embossed, that is sticking up. Tapping actually might be easier, but it will go a little bit on the part that is not embossed as well, which is fine. We're basically going to emboss most of this. Then I'm going to use the clear embossing powder. I'm going to start this by just putting it into my container and rolling it so that the powder goes over top of it. You can see that that is covering most of it. And you can see I've got a fingerprint in there, so I'm going to have to try and get rid of that. I do have another bottle handy, just in case I need it. But I think this might just do. Okay, I'm going to take just a tiny bit to cover that little edge. And tuck these away. Then I have my heat tool. Okay, now you can see that that has gotten quite shiny, and it is also much darker. If you look at the back of the Night of Navy, it has gone really quite dark, and that's just the effect that I was looking for. So I'm just going to set that aside. Okay, so here's our Azure Afternoon 3/8 of an inch sheer ribbon. This comes in a combo pack with 2 other colors, and they are bubble pack. It comes in a combo pack with 3 colors, and the 3 colors are Azure Afternoon, Lemon Lolly, and Bubble Bath. So it was Bubble Bath. What I want to do with this is to tie it around, this is a Stampin' Spritzer, but you could tie it around a lipstick tube or something just of a similar diameter. And I'm going to tie it, first of all, I'm going to pull it parallel to the tube, and then I'm going to tie it one more time, and this time I will pull it perpendicular to the tube. And then this, I did want this a little bit off center. This will give me a loop. And then what I'm going to do is put a glue dot on one end of that. Oh, that's really good. I have 2 glue dots left on that roll. Okay, so I'm going to take this about 1/2 inch from the end. 1/2 inch from the right side, sorry. This is a little bit of a tip to get a knot. You don't use quite as much ribbon, and it's a little easier to manage. Put that on that end of the ribbon. And then you can use your grid paper to make sure that that is even. And then once we've got that done, I am going to use some seal and put that onto our card base. Now this is actually going to the inside of the card. I'm just looking for my silicone mat. Sometimes helps the seal go on a little bit easier. But we're doing okay here, so we just won't worry about it. Just going to put a little bit more across there and there. And then I want this on the inside of the card, so I'm going to put my 2 left panels, my 2 smaller panels off to the left. And just center that on here with just a little tiny margin of white around it. And then what I'll do is I'll take my paper snips and just cut this loop at an angle. And there's our knot. There, that wasn't quite in the center, so I'm just going to trim this top part a little bit. Okay, next we are going to need a piece of the Azure Afternoon Bright and Beautiful. This is from the Bright and Beautiful package of 6x6 Designer Series paper, and it has some really lovely prints. It uses several of our new colors, and that's going to go onto the front. I'm going to put the lighter part at the top. This is the Azure Afternoon Wash, but however you put it on there should be quite fine. And then the next thing that I will need is some basic white cardstock. I need 2 pieces that are 2 3/4 inches square, and I'm going to use the Stylish Shapes dies, which are here. I use these a lot. I'm using the second largest of the stitch circles. There are 6 circles, 5 squares, and 4 banners. So I'm going to use this and my mini Stampin' Emboss machine. These dies are really nice because they're double stitched, so they stitch. You get a stitched image, you get a stitched cut on both sides of the cut line. Okay, so this one. I'll just show you what I mean. So there's the stitching on the circle. I'm not sure if you can see that or not. Not really. And then there's also stitching on this part. So if you wanted to cut this as a window onto a card, it works very well to do that. The reason I need 2 of these is one of these is going to be for my image and my sentiment on the outside of the card, and one is going to be for the message, the place to write the message on the inside of the card. Now I'm going to skip down to this step just because I have my embossing machine out already. I always put my dies on a magnetic sheet when I'm finished, or I try to always do that so that I am not losing pieces. This time I'm going to use the layering circles. This has 8 circles and 8 scalloped circles, and I'm using the second largest scalloped circle. And the piece of navy that I'm using is a 3x3 inch square. And then we're finished with our die cutting, so I will set that aside. Okay, and then the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to be stamping. I'll start with the crumb cake. And this is a cling stamp set. I think I showed you this already. The Seaside Bay stamp set. So I'm going to be using the birds. It's a group of 3, but I'm only using 2. I'm using the texture sand and the thank you for everything sentiment. And what I want to do is I'm going to stamp this. And I'm also going to use the stamped off as well. And that's just going to be for my sand. And then I'm going to use a blending brush, and I'm going to blend over the bottom half of this circle. And I'm going to use my balmy blue, the top half of the circle. That will be our sky. Depending on how inky your ink pad is, it's usually a good idea to start blending off the piece that you're working on, and that way you don't end up with a big blob. Sometimes it really doesn't make a lot of difference, but if your ink pad is quite inky, it can. Okay, so I'm just going to do a little bit of the blending of the balmy blue just to give us sort of the appearance of sky. And then we'll use the Night of Navy for the birds. Now I am only using 2 birds, as I mentioned, so I'm going to try not to ink the third bird, the one on the left. So you do sort of strategic stamping. I'm just going to stamp so that the 2 birds are on my ink pad. And I am actually going to, oh, that's okay. I had the right banner for a change. I'm going to stamp this off first so that it's not, I want sort of a, not quite a super stark bright birds. I want them a little bit muted. So I'm going to do that there. Going to use that in a minute. I've got a blender pen handy. If you don't have one of these, you need them. They're amazing. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to color over top of this, and this is going to blend that color from the stamp onto the bird so that I can make it blue over all of it. If you have 2 different colors, of course, they will blend. There we go. Let's get the excess color off there. And then I have my sentiment. And sort of get my birds horizontal. Check to make sure I've got ink everywhere. All right, so we've got that done. As I mentioned, the Night of Navy was the 2nd largest scalloped circle from the layering circles. And let's see, I don't think I put this on. Maybe I did. All right, next thing we're going to do is take our sentiment and we're going to put some glue on the back of this and then attach it to the scalloped Night of Navy piece. Fair bit of glue. I'm just going to tap that onto a paper towel to get rid of the excess, and I want to center this on the scallop circle. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some dimensionals on the left side of the circle, and I only want them on the left half because it's going to be attached just that half onto there. Otherwise we're going to get stuck on the inside. So I'm going to make my bird this way, and I want the dimensionals to go over on the left side, which will be my right side, just double checking to make sure I don't goof. And I'm going to put 3 of the large dimensionals on and 2 of the small ones that are closer to the center. And take those off. And then I'm just going to place this sort of temporarily so that I can check to make sure I don't have dimensional showing from the back, and I don't. So I'll just place that down there. And then I'm going to take my Tinsel Gems 4-pack. These are really pretty. These are embellishments that are lemon lime twist, berry burst, blueberry bushel, and Pacific Point. Pretty Peacock, sorry. Yeah, Pretty Peacock. Pacific Point was a favorite of mine. I guess I keep wishing that it will come back. And then I'm just going to put 3 of the larger gems just on the outside of this scallop circle. I'm just going to put it gently because I usually end up with wanting to move them. That's not bad, except I want this one a little closer in. And then this one I want just a little closer that way. And then our last step on this card is to take this extra circle that we made and put it on the inside. And we want it not to be showing. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put some seal on the back of this. I did find my silicone mat. Let's see if that does make a difference. It does, yeah. And so that I can line it up, I'm going to open my card with this part folded. I'm going to put my insert over top of the scalloped navy, and then I just want to gently close it. I'm just going to do that gently in case I have to move it, but that does cover. So there you go. And the last part that we need to do is our card base, and we are going to use a piece of Azure afternoon cardstock that is 5.5 inches wide and 4.25 inches tall. And basically all I'm going to do is now put glue. I'm going to use some seal on the back of my white thick cardstock, the Z fold part, or Z fold if you're one of our friends from the United States. And then I'm just going to make sure that I am going to center that onto the card base. And there you go. So this is a double embossed Z fold fun fold card. And the reason it's double embossed is there has been dry embossing on that navy part first, and then clear embossing with a heat tool. And so you get a nice shiny wet looking background, which is exactly what I wanted. Give this one a try. All of the measurements are in my blog, and there is a link below for a PDF with full directions and measurements and color pictures. So I hope that you liked that card. If you live in Canada and you presently don't have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I would really like it if you would check out my links and check out my shopping links. And remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can see more videos as I make them, and hopefully they'll give you a little bit of card inspiration and maybe learn some new techniques. All right, so remember to subscribe. Also, if you do shop with me and you live in Canada, you have to live in Canada to be able to shop with me. I will send you a gift in the mail from me if you use my current host code link, and there's a link to that below this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.